Commander Kang Minho sat in his chair on the bridge of Viridian Watch. The space station floated at the edge of Coalition territory, far from any major planets or trade routes. For 15 years, Minho had watched empty space through the station's sensors. Most days, nothing happened. Sometimes a cargo ship passed by. Sometimes debris from old battles drifted past their scanners. Today felt different. "Sir, I'm getting something strange on long-range sensors," said Lee Subin from her position at the scanner station. She was young, maybe 25, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Subin had joined the station crew 6 months ago, fresh from the Coalition Academy. Minho looked up from his daily reports. "What kind of strange?" "There's an object moving toward us from the outer rim. It's big, maybe the size of a cruiser, but the energy signature doesn't match anything in our database." Minho stood and walked over to Subin's station. The main screen showed a red dot moving slowly across the star map. Numbers and data scrolled beside it, but none of it made sense. The object was definitely artificial, not a piece of space rock. But it wasn't broadcasting any identification signals. "Could be Vorthak," suggested Kim Jae-sung, the station's weapons officer. He was older than Minho, with gray hair and scars from the border wars. "Their bioships sometimes mask their signatures." Minho shook his head. "Vorthak ships have organic energy patterns. This looks different. Almost like old Coalition technology, but cleaner." The bridge fell quiet except for the soft hum of the station systems. Viridian Watch had been built to monitor this section of space for enemy movement. The Vorthak Empire had been quiet lately, but everyone knew that wouldn't last. Peace never lasted long in this part of the galaxy. "Range?" asked Minho. 12 light hours in closing," Subin replied. "At current speed, it'll reach the inner system in about 6 hours. Any response to standard hails?" "Nothing, sir, but—" Subin paused, checking her instruments twice. "Sir, I'm detecting weapons." "A lot of weapons?" "This thing is armed like a battleship." Minho felt a cold weight in his stomach. An unknown warship approaching Coalition space was bad news. An unknown warship that refused to answer calls was worse. Alert status yellow. Contact Fleet Command and request backup. The next few hours passed slowly. The unknown ship continued its steady approach, still silent despite repeated attempts at communication. More data came in as it got closer. The ship was definitely warship class, about 800 meters long. Its hull was gray metal with angular designs that looked almost familiar. "Sir," Subin called out, excitement in her voice. "I'm getting clearer readings now." "The hull design. It looks human." Minho turned sharply. "Human? That's impossible." "Run the scan again." Subin's fingers danced over her controls. The main screen zoomed in, showing a blurry image of the approaching vessel. Even through the static and distance, the ship's lines were unmistakable. It had the practical, no-nonsense design that humans had always favored. "The ship architecture matches old Earth military designs from before the invasion," reported Ensign Park Dong-hyun from the research station. He was the youngest member of the crew, barely out of his teens, but he knew military history better than anyone. Pre-Coalition era, maybe 300 years old. "That's impossible," Kim Jae-sung said. "Earth was destroyed 3 centuries ago. Every human world was wiped out by the Vorthak. The only humans left are the ones who joined the Coalition." Minho stared at the screen. He was human himself, one of maybe 10 million humans scattered across Coalition worlds. His grandparents had been refugees, saved by Coalition ships during the Great Evacuation. Everyone knew the story. Earth had fallen. Humanity had almost gone extinct. Only the Coalition's intervention had saved them. But the ship on the screen was definitely human, and it was definitely real. "Sir, incoming transmission," Subin announced suddenly. "It's on an old Terran military frequency." "Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled to life. Through the static came a voice speaking clear, unaccented English. "This is Captain Park Ji-won of the Human Defense Fleet vessel Iron Conviction. We have been tracking Vorthak movement in this sector, requesting immediate communication with Coalition Command." The bridge went dead silent. Minho felt his heart skip a beat. Human Defense Fleet? That was impossible. There was no human defense fleet. There were no hidden human colonies. Everyone knew that. "Captain Park," Minho said, his voice steady despite his racing thoughts. "This is Commander Kang Minho of Coalition Monitoring Station Viridian Watch. Please identify yourself and state your origin." The response came quickly. "Commander Kang, we don't have time for full explanations over open channels. The Vorthak are moving faster than we expected. We need to speak with your highest-ranking human officer immediately. Minho looked around his bridge. His crew stared back at him with wide eyes. Sabin's hand shook slightly as she worked her controls. Even Kim Jae-sung, who had seen everything in 30 years of military service, looked stunned. Captain Park, I need to verify your identity before I can— Commander, the voice interrupted, and now there was urgency in it. Check your long-range sensors. Bearing 27 Mark 15, tell me what you see. Subin quickly adjusted the sensors. After a moment, she looked up at Minho with fear in her eyes. Sir, I'm detecting a large formation moving through the Helix Nebula. Multiple contacts, bioship signatures. It's massive. Minho felt his blood turn cold. A Vorthak fleet that size could only mean one thing. How many ships? At least 3,000, sir. Maybe more. They're still too far away to get exact numbers. The radio crackled again. Commander Kang, my ship carries information that could save millions of lives. But we need to move fast. The Vorthak armada you just detected is heading for the Coalition core worlds, and this time they're not planning to take prisoners. Minho closed his eyes for a moment, trying to process everything. An impossible human ship, a Vorthak invasion fleet, and somehow these forgotten humans had known about it before anyone else. Captain Park, he said finally, I'm contacting Fleet Command now, but I need you to understand something. As far as everyone knows, humanity was almost destroyed 300 years ago. If you're really human, if you really survived, this changes everything. Commander, came the reply, and now the voice sounded tired, ancient despite its youthful tone. Everything changed a long time ago. We've just been waiting for the right moment to let you know. Admiral Yoon Dae-hyun arrived at Viridian Watch 12 hours after Commander Kang's emergency report reached Coalition Command. His flagship, the Harmony, dropped out of jump space with an escort of 6 destroyers. As the highest-ranking human officer in the Coalition fleet, he had been chosen to handle first contact with the impossible ship. Yoon had read the reports 3 times during his jump to the station. Each time, they made less sense. A human warship appearing from nowhere, claims of hidden colonies, warnings about a massive Vorthak invasion. Either someone was playing an elaborate trick, or everything the Coalition knew about human history was wrong. Admiral on deck, announced the bridge crew as Yoon stepped onto the Harmony's command bridge. Captain Lee Yoonji, his second-in-command, approached with a data pad. Sir, the unknown vessel is maintaining position 1 million kilometers from Viridian Watch. They've refused all requests to board or allow inspection teams. They'll only speak directly with you. Yoon nodded. Any more information about that Vorthak fleet? Long-range scouts confirm it, sir. Over 4,000 bioships moving through the Helix Nebula toward Coalition space. It's the largest Vorthak formation anyone has ever seen. Yoon felt a chill run down his spine. The Vorthak Empire had been quiet for almost 2 years. Intelligence reports suggested they were dealing with internal conflicts. But a fleet this size meant they had settled their problems and were ready for war again. Set up a secure channel with the unknown vessel, Yoon ordered. I want to speak with this Captain Park. The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of a woman who looked to be in her 40s. She had steel gray eyes and short black hair with streaks of silver. Her uniform was dark blue with gold trim, nothing like Coalition designs. Behind her, Yoon could see a bridge that looked both familiar and strange. Admiral Yoon, the woman said in perfect English. I'm Captain Park Ji-won. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. Captain Park, Yoon replied carefully. I've read the reports, but I'm having trouble believing them. You claim to represent human colonies that have been hidden for 3 centuries. Park's expression didn't change. Not hidden, Admiral, forgotten, there's a difference. Explain. Park was quiet for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. When the Vorthak invaded human space 300 years ago, most people assumed Earth and the outer colonies were destroyed. That's what the Coalition was told. But it wasn't entirely true. Yoon leaned forward. What do you mean? Before the main Vorthak fleet reached Earth, a group of military leaders activated something called Protocol Exodus. They evacuated over 2 billion people to colony worlds beyond the Outer Rim, worlds the Coalition had never heard of. That's impossible, Yoon said. The evacuation records show only a few million humans were saved. The records show what we wanted them to show, Park replied. Admiral, the leaders of Protocol Exodus made a hard choice. They knew the Coalition would try to protect the hidden colonies if they knew about them. They also knew the coalition wasn't strong enough to fight the Vorthak Empire and win. Yoon felt anger rising in his chest. So you abandoned us? You let millions of humans die when you could have saved them? Park's gray eyes flashed. We saved 2 billion people, Admiral, and we spent 3 centuries preparing for this day. The day when the Vorthak would try to finish what they started. What do you mean, preparing? The image shifted as Park gestured to someone off-screen. The view changed to show more of the ship's bridge. Yoon's breath caught in his throat. The technology was like nothing he had ever seen. Smooth panels displayed information in 3 dimensions. Crew members wore form-fitting suits that seemed to move with their bodies. We didn't just survive, Admiral, Park said. We evolved. We built new ships, new weapons, new ways of fighting. We've been watching Coalition space for decades, learning about Vorthak tactics and technology. And you never thought to contact us? To let us know you existed? We tried several times, but every message was either ignored or dismissed as false. After a while, we realized the Coalition didn't want to know about us. You had moved on. Yoon was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his own family history. His grandmother had been 8 years old when Coalition ships rescued her from a burning space station. She had spent her whole life grateful to the Coalition for saving her. To learn that there might have been another way, that billions more could have been saved. Show me, he said finally. Sir, show me proof. If you really represent human colonies, if you really have the technology you claim, show me. Park nodded to someone off-screen. The holographic display changed again, showing star charts that Yoon didn't recognize. Red dots marked dozens of star systems beyond Coalition space. 47 colony worlds, Park said. Total population just over 8 billion. We've been building and growing while hiding from both the Coalition and the Vorthak. The numbers were staggering. If Park was telling the truth, there were more humans alive than Yoon had ever imagined. But something still bothered him. Why reveal yourselves now? He asked. Park's expression grew grim. Because the Vorthak fleet heading toward Coalition space isn't just another raid. Our scouts have been tracking them for months. This is different, bigger. They're not planning to take territory or capture slaves. What are they planning? Total extermination. They're going to destroy every Coalition world. Every species, every trace of the galactic civilization that opposed them. And after they're done with you, they'll come for us. Yoon felt his blood turn cold. How do you know this? Because we've been fighting them for 3 centuries, Admiral. Small battles, raids, skirmishes. We've learned their language, their tactics, their goals. The Vorthak don't just want to conquer the galaxy. They want to own it completely. The implications hit Yoon like a physical blow. The Coalition had always seen the Vorthak as an aggressive neighbor, dangerous but manageable. The idea that they were planning genocide was terrifying. What do you want from us? Yoon asked. An alliance, Park said simply. Your ships and our technology working together. It's the only way either of us survives what's coming. And if we refuse? Park's smile was cold. Then we'll fight them alone, just like we've been doing for 300 years. But Admiral, you need to understand something. The Coalition fleet as it exists now cannot stop what's coming. You'll all die and die badly. Yoon studied the woman on the screen. Everything about her was wrong. Her technology, her history, her very existence challenged everything he thought he knew. But the Vorthak fleet was real. The threat was real. I'll need to speak with Coalition Command, he said. Of course. But Admiral, time is not on our side. The Vorthak fleet will reach the outer Coalition worlds in 2 weeks. If we're going to work together, we need to start now. Yoon nodded slowly. Captain Park, I have one more question. Yes? In all this time, while you were hiding and preparing, did you ever think about the humans who stayed with the Coalition? Did you ever wonder what happened to us? Park's expression softened slightly. Every day, Admiral. Why do you think we're here? Chief Engineer Kim Hyok stepped through the airlock onto the Iron Conviction with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Behind him came Dr. Choi Minji, the Coalition's top expert on alien biology, and 3 other scientists. Admiral Yoon had ordered a technical exchange to learn more about the mysterious human ship and its technology. The first thing Hyok noticed was how different everything felt. The corridor walls were smooth black metal that seemed to absorb light. The air tasted different, cleaner somehow, and the gravity felt slightly heavier than standard Coalition settings. Welcome aboard, said a young man in a dark blue uniform. I'm Lieutenant Nam Dongjun. Captain Park asked me to show you around. Hyuk studied the lieutenant carefully. He looked human, but something was off. His movements were too quick, too precise. His eyes seemed to take in everything at once, processing information faster than should be possible. "How long has your ship been operational?" asked Dr. Choi as they walked down the corridor. "The Iron Conviction was launched 18 years ago," Nam replied. "But the design is based on 3 centuries of development. We've had time to refine things." They passed through several sections of the ship. Each area was more impressive than the last. The engineering deck hummed with power from reactors that seemed impossibly efficient. The weapons bay held guns and missiles unlike anything in Coalition arsenals. But it was the crew that really caught Hyok's attention. Every person they met moved with the same unnatural precision as Lieutenant Nam. They were alert, focused, and somehow more than human. During a brief stop in the ship's medical bay, Dr. Choi quietly ran her scanner over one of the crew members. "Interesting," she whispered to Hyok. "Genetic modifications. Improved reflexes, enhanced strength, better oxygen processing. These people have been altered." The tour continued to the bridge where Captain Park waited for them. In person, she was even more impressive than on the video screen. She stood perfectly straight, her gray eyes missing nothing. "Chief Engineer Kim," she said, extending her hand. "I understand you have questions about our technology." "Many questions," Hyok replied, shaking her hand. Her grip was stronger than expected. "Your ship's power output is remarkable. How do you generate so much energy?" "Fusion reactors," Park said simply. "But not the kind you're familiar with. We've learned to fuse heavier elements, extract more power from each reaction." She led them to a console that displayed the ship's power systems. The numbers made Hyok's head spin. The Iron Conviction generated 3 times more energy than a Coalition battleship of similar size. The real breakthrough was learning to contain the reactions without massive magnetic fields. Park continued. "We use gravitational manipulation instead." "Gravitational manipulation?" Dr. Choi stepped forward. "That's theoretical technology. No one has ever made it work," Park smiled. "No one in Coalition space. We've had 300 years to solve problems you've never had to face." She touched another control, and the display changed to show the ship's weapon systems. Hyok stared in amazement. Instead of energy weapons, the Iron Conviction carried massive railguns that fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. "Why kinetic weapons?" he asked. "Energy weapons are more efficient." "Against normal targets, yes," Park agreed. "But Vorthak bioships have natural resistance to energy. Their organic hulls absorb plasma and laser fire. Solid projectiles, on the other hand, punch right through." Lieutenant Nam brought up a tactical display showing a previous battle. Hyok watched as human ships fired streams of metal projectiles that tore through Vorthak vessels like paper. "We've also developed specialized ammunition," Park said. "Phase rounds that pass through normal matter but solidify when they hit organic tissue. Gravity bombs that create small black holes inside enemy ships." Dr. Choi looked pale. Those weapons would be devastating against any target, not just Vorthak ships. "Yes," Park said quietly. "We learned early that survival requires being willing to do whatever is necessary." The tour continued to other parts of the ship. In the crew quarters, Hyok noticed that the beds were smaller than normal, the corridors narrower. Everything was designed for efficiency over comfort. "Your people have adapted to ship life," he observed. "We've adapted to war," Park corrected. "When you spend 3 centuries fighting for survival, comfort becomes less important than effectiveness." They visited the ship's laboratory, where human scientists worked on projects that seemed impossibly advanced. One team was developing new ways to interfere with Vorthak bioship nervous systems. Another was working on improvements to human genetics. "You modify your own people," Dr. Choi said. It wasn't a question. "Volunteers only," Park replied. "But yes, enhanced reflexes save lives in combat. Improved oxygen processing lets us survive longer in damaged ships. Better radiation resistance means we can operate in hostile environments. But at what cost?" Dr. Choi pressed. "These modifications change what it means to be human." Park stopped walking and turned to face the Coalition team. "Dr. Choi, let me ask you something. When the Vorthak come for your worlds, when they're killing Coalition civilians by the millions, will it matter if the people trying to save them are technically still baseline human?" The question hung in the air. Hyok found himself thinking about his own family on New Sol. Would he care if their rescuers had been genetically modified, as long as they were effective? The final stop on the tour was the ship's intelligence center. Here, human analysts worked with computers that seemed almost alive. The displays showed real-time information about Vorthak fleet movements, battle plans, and strategic assessments. Intelligence Officer Nam Seojin briefed them on what they had learned. "The approaching Vorthak force is unlike anything we've seen before," he said. "Over 4,000 bioships, including several new classes we've never encountered." The tactical display showed the massive alien fleet moving steadily toward Coalition space. Red icons marked individual ships, each one larger than most Coalition vessels. "They're not just bringing warriors," Nam continued. "These are colonization ships, breeding vessels, resource processors. They're planning to completely replace Coalition civilization with their own." "How long do we have?" asked Dr. Choi. 10 days until they reach the outer Coalition worlds. 2 weeks until they hit the core systems." Hyok felt a chill run down his spine. The Coalition fleet had maybe 300 ships total. Against 4,000 Vorthak vessels, they wouldn't stand a chance. "What about your fleet?" he asked Captain Park. "How many ships do you have?" 87 ships in the first response group," Park replied. "Another 200 scattered across our territory. Not enough to fight them directly, but enough to make a difference if we work together." As they prepared to leave the Iron Conviction, Hyok found himself torn between admiration and horror. The hidden humans had built something amazing, but they had paid a terrible price for it. They had become something more than human, but also something less. "Captain Park," he said as they reached the airlock, "your people have accomplished incredible things. But I have to ask, was it worth it? All the modifications, all the sacrifices?" Park looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Chief Engineer, in 10 days you'll see what the Vorthak do to worlds that can't defend themselves. When that happens, you can ask me again if our sacrifices were worth it." As Hyok returned to his own ship, he carried with him the image of the hidden humans and their impossible technology. They had survived by becoming something new, something harder and more focused than the humans who had joined the Coalition. The question that haunted him was simple. When the shooting started, would that be enough? The Battle of Kepler Station began at 0800 hours on a Tuesday that would be remembered forever. Admiral Yoon Daehyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as the largest Vorthak fleet in galactic history dropped out of jump space like a plague of locusts. "Contact count now at 4,200 ships," reported his tactical officer. "Multiple new classes, sir. Some of those bioships are over 2 kilometers long." Yoon felt his mouth go dry. The Coalition defense fleet had managed to gather 340 ships for the battle. Even with the human defense fleet's 87 vessels, they were outnumbered more than 10 to 1. "Admiral," came Captain Park's voice over the communication channel, "my ships are in position. We'll take the lead and try to punch through their formation. Your fleet can follow and hit their flanks." "Negative, Captain," Yoon replied. "We fight together or not at all. Coalition doctrine calls for coordinated defensive formations." There was a pause. "Admiral, with respect, Coalition doctrine wasn't designed for this kind of fight. But it's your choice." The Vorthak fleet spread out across space like a dark tide. Their bioships pulsed with organic light, living weapons grown in alien hatcheries. At the center of their formation was something Yoon had never seen before. A massive command vessel that looked like a twisted tree, its branches reaching out for dozens of kilometers. "All ships, this is Admiral Yoon," he broadcast to the combined fleet. "Today we fight not just for the Coalition, but for the right of all free species to exist. Make every shot count." The battle began when the Vorthak opened fire with their bioplasma weapons. Streams of living fire reached out across space, seeking Coalition ships. The first vessels to die were 2 destroyers that couldn't get their shields up in time. They simply melted, their hulls dissolving under the alien weapons. "Return fire," Yoon ordered. "All ships engage at will." The Coalition fleet responded with energy weapons and missile strikes. Bright lines of laser fire and plasma bursts crossed the darkness between the fleets. Several Vorthak ships shuddered under the impact, their organic hulls crackling with damage. But then the human defense fleet attacked, and everything changed. The Iron Conviction and her sister ships moved forward like spears thrown by giants. They didn't use energy shields like Coalition vessels. Instead, they had something Captain Park called kinetic barriers, fields that deflected solid matter and absorbed energy. Vorthak bioplasma splashed harmlessly off their hulls. "Look at them move," breathed Pilot Commander Oh Seung-woo from his interceptor cockpit. He watched in amazement as human ships performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. They twisted and turned through space at accelerations that would kill normal humans. The human ships opened fire with their railguns, Solid projectiles moving at incredible speeds smashed into Vorthak bioships, where Coalition energy weapons had only damaged the alien vessels. The kinetic rounds punched completely through them. Organic hulls split open like rotten fruit. Their weapons are incredibly effective, reported Yoon's tactical officer. The human ships are cutting through the Vorthak formation like it's paper. But the alien fleet was vast and they adapted quickly. Smaller Vorthak ships began swarming around the human vessels, trying to overwhelm them with numbers. Several defense fleet ships disappeared under waves of attacking biofighters. Commander O found himself flying in formation with enhanced human pilots. Their reflexes were impossibly fast, their ship handling perfect. They flew through storms of enemy fire without being touched, their modified bodies allowing them to survive maneuvers that would have liquefied normal humans. "How are you doing that?" he asked over the radio as a human pilot performed a turn that pulled at least 12 Gs. "Genetic modifications," came the calm reply. "Enhanced bone density, improved blood flow, reinforced organs. We can handle about twice the G-forces you can." O watched as the human pilot's ship spun like a dancer, its guns tracking multiple targets simultaneously. The pilot was fighting a battle that would have overwhelmed any normal human, but his enhanced reflexes let him keep up with the chaos. The tide of battle shifted when Captain Park revealed humanity's greatest secret. "All ships begin Phase 2, she broadcast on the human fleet frequency. O watched in confusion as human ships began broadcasting strange signals toward the Vorthak fleet. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly, some of the alien bioships began to change course. "What's happening?" Yoon demanded over the command channel. "We're taking control of their ships," Park replied calmly. 3 centuries of fighting the Vorthak taught us how their bioships think. We can interfere with their nervous systems, reprogram their instincts." O stared as dozens of Vorthak vessels suddenly turned on their own fleet. Bioships that had been attacking coalition forces moments before now fired on their former allies. The alien formation began to collapse as ships turned against each other. "Impossible," whispered Yoon's tactical officer. "They're turning the Vorthak fleet against itself." But victory came at a terrible cost. The human defense fleet fought with a desperate efficiency that was beautiful and horrible to watch. They sacrificed their ships without hesitation when it would save coalition vessels. Enhanced crews died protecting worlds they had never seen, for people they barely considered family anymore. O watched a human cruiser ram itself into a massive Vorthak command ship, its captain choosing death rather than retreat. The explosion lit up space like a new star, taking both ships with it. "Why?" he asked over the radio. "Why sacrifice yourselves for us?" The answer came from a dying human pilot whose ship was burning around him. "Because someone has to. Because it's the right thing to do. Because we're all human, even if we don't look the same anymore." The battle raged for 18 hours. By the end, space around Kepler Station was filled with debris from thousands of ships. The Vorthak fleet had been broken, scattered, their command structure destroyed, but the cost had been enormous. Of the Coalition's 340 ships, only 112 survived. The human defense fleet had lost over half their vessels. Thousands of enhanced humans had died in the fighting, their modified bodies finally pushed beyond their limits. As the last Vorthak ships retreated into jump space, Admiral Yoon surveyed the aftermath. His flagship was damaged but intact. Around him, the survivors of both fleets worked together to rescue crew members from disabled ships. "Captain Park," he called over the communication channel. "Are you receiving?" "I'm here, Admiral," came the tired reply. "The Iron Conviction took heavy damage, but we're still operational." "Your fleet fought magnificently," Yoon said. "I've never seen anything like it." "It's what we trained for," Park replied simply. 300 years of preparation for one battle. O docked his interceptor in the damaged hangar of a Coalition cruiser. As he climbed out of his cockpit, he saw human and Coalition crew members working side by side to repair battle damage. The enhanced humans moved faster and worked longer than normal humans, but they shared their food and medicine without being asked. "Are we winning?" asked a young Coalition engineer. O looked out at the debris field that had once been the largest Vorthak fleet in history. "I think so," he said. "But the real question is what comes next." In the command center of the Iron Conviction, Captain Park studied the tactical reports. The Vorthak retreat had been complete but not total. Scattered groups of bioships were still operating throughout Coalition space. The war was far from over, But for the first time in 3 centuries, humans were fighting together again. And that, Park thought, might be worth all the sacrifices they had made. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler Station, Ambassador Lee Meek-young sat in a conference room on New Geneva, looking across the table at representatives from 3 different human societies. The meeting had been going on for 4 hours, and they were no closer to agreement than when they started. "The integration proposal is generous," said Captain Park Ji-won, now promoted to Fleet Admiral after her heroics in the battle. "But my people didn't survive 3 centuries of isolation just to become junior partners in the coalition." "No one is suggesting junior partnership," Lee replied patiently. "The coalition offers full membership, shared governance, equal representation. To some of our colonies," Park corrected. "Others prefer to maintain their independence." Ambassador Lee sighed quietly. The diplomatic process had been more complicated than anyone expected. The human defense fleet wasn't a single government, but a loose alliance of dozens of colony worlds. Each one had developed its own culture, its own priorities, its own relationship with both the coalition and their fellow hidden humans. "What about the colonies that want to rejoin?" asked Dr. Choi Minji, who had been appointed as the coalition's liaison for human integration. "Surely we can start with them." 17 colonies have voted for full coalition membership, Park admitted. 23 want limited partnership agreements, and 12 prefer complete independence with mutual defense treaties only. Lee studied the data pad in front of her. The numbers told a complex story. The human colonies that had developed closer to coalition space tended to favor integration. Those in the outer rim, where the fighting had been hardest, preferred independence, and the colonies that had suffered the most Vorthak attacks wanted nothing more than to be left alone. "There's something else we need to discuss," Park said, her voice becoming more serious. "The Defense Force presence in coalition space. This was the issue that made coalition leaders nervous. Admiral Park had established permanent bases in 3 star systems along the coalition border. Her ships patrolled constantly, hunting down remaining Vorthak holdouts and preparing for future threats. "Your ships are welcome," Lee said carefully, "but some coalition members are concerned about the long-term implications. They're worried we might decide to conquer them." Park's smile was cold. "Ambassador, if we wanted to take coalition worlds by force, do you really think you could stop us?" The question hung in the air like a physical weight. Everyone in the room knew the answer. The Battle of Kepler Station had proven that human defense fleet technology was far superior to anything the coalition possessed. If they wanted to be conquerors, no one could prevent it. "But that's not who we are," Park continued. "We didn't spend 3 centuries building a civilization just to destroy someone else's." Commander Kang Min-ho, who had been quietly listening from his position at the back of the room, spoke up. "Admiral, may I ask you something?" Park nodded. "What do your people want? Really want, I mean, not politically but personally." Park was quiet for a long moment. When she answered, her voice was softer than usual. "We want to go home, Commander. We want to visit Earth and see what's left of the worlds our ancestors knew. We want to meet our cousins in the coalition and learn what they've built. We want to stop fighting for survival and start living for something better. And," Kang pressed, "and we want to make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. That no species has to choose between extinction and transformation." Lee looked around the table at the faces of people who represented the scattered remnants of humanity. Some had chosen integration with alien species. Others had chosen isolation and genetic modification. All had survived, but at different costs. "Perhaps we're thinking about this wrong," she said finally. "Instead of trying to reunite humanity under one government, maybe we should accept that humans have evolved in different directions." Dr. Choi leaned forward. "What do you mean?" 3 different approaches to survival," Lee explained. "Coalition humans who integrated with other species and learned diplomacy and cooperation. Defense fleet humans who maintained independence and developed superior technology. And the various colony worlds that found their own paths between those extremes." Park nodded slowly. "A human confederation instead of a human government." "Exactly. We maintain our different societies but coordinate on threats that affect all of us." The discussion continued for another 2 hours, working out details and addressing concerns. By the end, they had the framework for something unprecedented. A loose alliance of human societies, each maintaining its own identity while working together for mutual defense. 3 weeks later, Commander Kang stood on the observation deck of Viridian Watch, looking out at a sight that still amazed him. A joint Coalition Defense Fleet patrol was passing by the station. Coalition destroyers flew in formation with sleek human warships, their crews sharing information and coordinating their search patterns. "Strange how quickly things change," said Chief Engineer Kim Hyuk, joining Kang at the window. "Is it?" Kang replied. "We're still the same species even if we've developed differently. Maybe this is how it was always supposed to be." Kim was quiet for a moment. "Do you think they're right?" "The defense fleet, I mean. About us being naive and unprepared?" Kang considered the question. "Maybe, but they needed us too. All their technology and genetic modifications wouldn't have meant much if they'd fought the Vorthak alone. They needed our numbers, our alliances with other species." Through the window they could see the patrol ships working together seamlessly. Coalition crews had adapted to human technology faster than anyone expected. Defense fleet officers had proven surprisingly good at diplomatic protocols. "Contact on long-range sensors," announced Lee Subin from her station. Her voice carried the same excitement it had 6 months ago when she first detected the Iron Conviction. Kang and Kim hurried to the bridge. "What do you have, Subin?" "Unknown vessel approaching from the galactic rim. It's not like anything in our database." Kang felt a familiar chill. "Vorthak?" "No, sir. The energy signature is completely different. And it's broadcasting something. Let's hear it." The bridge speakers crackled with static, then cleared to reveal a voice speaking in a language none of them recognized. The words were harsh, alien, but somehow structured like communication. "Any idea what it's saying?" Kang asked. "No, sir, but—" Subin paused, checking her instruments. "Sir, the ship design looks ancient." "Really ancient. Like it's been traveling for thousands of years." Admiral Park's voice came over the communication channel from her flagship. "Commander Kang, are you seeing this?" "Yes, Admiral. What do you make of it?" "I think, Commander, that humanity's adventures in this galaxy are just beginning." Kang looked around his bridge at his crew. Human and alien faces looked back at him, all focused on the mystery approaching from deep space. 6 months ago, an unknown ship had brought them warnings of invasion and the return of lost family. Today, another unknown ship might bring challenges they couldn't even imagine. "All stations, alert status yellow," he ordered, "and send word to Coalition Command and Defense Fleet Headquarters. Let them know we might need both of their expertise for this one." As the unknown vessel continued its approach, Kang reflected on how much had changed. Humanity was no longer a single species with a single way of life. They had become something more complex, more adaptable. Some humans had learned to work with aliens. Others had learned to enhance themselves. Still others had found paths somewhere in between, but they were all still human, and when faced with the unknown, they did what humans had always done. They stood together, they adapted, and they prepared to face whatever came next. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but for the first time in centuries, humanity was ready for all of them. In her ready room aboard the Iron Conviction, Admiral Park studied the reports coming in from the unknown vessel. The ship was old, possibly older than human civilization itself. Its crew was broadcasting mathematical sequences and stellar coordinates, the universal language of intelligence trying to make contact. She smiled grimly and began preparing response protocols. Humanity had survived extinction, fought impossible wars, and reunited scattered families. Whatever this new challenge brought, they would face it the same way they had faced everything else. Together, but stronger for their differences, the unknown vessel continued its approach, carrying secrets from the deep galaxy, and humanity, in all its varied forms, prepared to discover what new wonders and terrors awaited them among the stars.